Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Murder with Macaroni and Cheese by A.L. Herbert, narrated by Machelle Williams. Chapter 1. "Someone needs to turn the heat down out there. I'm about to sweat my wig off," Wavon says as she comes through the front door of Mahalia's Sweet Tea. "But it sure feels good in here." She leans her head and shoulders back, rolls her neck from side to side, and takes in the cool air pumping through the vents from 3 air conditioners toiling at maximum capacity on the roof above my restaurant. "It's a scorcher." I look at my watch. "You were supposed to be here an hour ago and help us set up for lunch. We'll be busy today. People will want to get out of the heat and into the air conditioning. We'll go through iced tea like crazy." "Speaking of iced tea, what kind we got on special today? I need to get me a glass." "It's strawberry. Laura brewed the syrup early this morning." Laura is my assistant manager and, thankfully, a morning person. She usually gets in around 8 a.m. and starts working with my kitchen prep staff to have us ready for our lunch opening at 11. I generally come in after 10 and stay until after we close. On weeknights, it's often past 11 p.m. when I leave, and usually later than that on Friday and Saturday nights. "Strawberry, that's my fave." Wavon hurries toward the back of the restaurant where we keep the tea dispensers. I stand by the bar as I watch Wavon scoop some ice, drop it into a tall glass, add a big serving of homemade strawberry syrup, and fill the whole thing with sweet tea. For customers, we add the syrup to the unsweetened tea. The strawberry flavoring is made from berries and plenty of sugar, so it adds a nice touch of sweetness to regular tea. But Wavon likes her tea so sweet the straw practically stands up on its own. "You do realize we are here to work, Wavon, no?" I watch her linger by the drink station, alternating between sipping and stirring her tea with a straw, as if she's a customer on a leisurely lunch break rather than a paid employee. Wavon is my significantly younger cousin, and, after a troubled youth that involved only sporadic amounts of supervision from my alcoholic aunt, came to live with Mama and me when she was 13, and has been a handful ever since. She's in her 20s now, but I still find myself reprimanding her as often as I did when she was a teenager. All right, slow your roll, boss lady." She pulls a lavender tie from her pocket and starts tying it around her neck. All my servers wear black pants, long-sleeve white shirts, and pastel ties. But all my servers certainly do not tell me to slow my roll or call me boss lady. As a member of the family, I allow Wavon a certain amount of slack, and knowing that I'll never fire her, she takes every bit of it. But honestly, given her history, most days I'm happy that she manages to show up for work at all. I'm about to ask Wavon to make sure we have enough rolled silverware on hand for the lunch crowd when I see Sandra, my afternoon hostess, with the phone in her hand, motioning for me to come to the hostess stand. "There's a call for you. I said I'd take a message, but she insisted on speaking with you now. She said she's Raynell Rollins' assistant." Raynell Rollins? It takes me a moment for the name to register. It's not a name I've heard in quite some time. I have, however, seen it all over town. I haven't been in touch with her since high school, but Raynell Rollins is a local real estate agent. You can hardly visit any of the better neighborhoods here in Prince George's County, Maryland, without running into one of her for sale signs with her photo plastered on it. Wonder what she wants. I say more to myself than Sandra, remembering how my friend Nicole, the only person from high school with whom I've kept in regular contact, gave me an update on Raynell a while back. She told me that Raynell married Terrence Rollins shortly after college when he was starting for the Washington Redskins. Nicole, who loves to gossip and has way more time to surf Facebook than I do, also recently informed me that Terrence, who has since retired from playing football, is now a sports anchor on a local station. I don't really follow sports, but I've seen him on the news a few times. Per Nicole, thanks to Terrence's past as a star football player and his current presence as an on-air personality, Raynell has managed to build quite the little real estate sales empire. mostly by tapping Terrence's network of broadcasting and professional sport player friends as clients. I take the phone from Sandra and lift it to my ear. "This is Halia." "Ms. Watkins?" "Yes." "My name is Christy Garner. I'm Raynell Rollins' assistant. She asked me to set up a lunch date with you." "Really? Any particular reason? I haven't seen Raynell since high school." I'm considering adding that you can count on one hand the number of times Raynell and I spoke to each other while we actually were in high school, but I decide not to go there. Although I don't recall Raynell being a particularly nice person, it's not like there was any animosity between the two of us or anything like that. We just didn't run in the same circles. "Miss Rollins is scouting venues for her, and I guess your high school reunion. She would like to discuss possibly holding the event in your restaurant." "I thought the reunion was going to be at Colony South Hotel. It's in less than 2 weeks, isn't it?" I got an invite to the event months ago and sent my regrets. I rarely take off Saturday nights, and aside from Nicole, who I already see all the time, there isn't really anyone who I'm terribly eager to reconnect with, so I decided not to bother attending. "There was a water main break at the hotel. They won't have the event space repaired in time." "Really? That's a shame." "Raynell heard that you owned a local restaurant and thought you might be able to host the affair." "I'd be happy to discuss it with Raynell." I wonder why Raynell didn't just call me herself, but if memory serves me correct, Raynell was one for putting on airs. Using an assistant as an intermediary is probably just one of those wealth and status things I don't understand. "Why don't you ask her to come by for lunch tomorrow, and we'll talk about it?" I offer, even though it's highly unlikely that I'll agree to host the event at Sweet Tea. Depending on how many members of our graduating class are attending, hosting the reunion might mean closing the whole restaurant for an entire evening to accommodate the crowd. I doubt the reunion committee has the kind of money I would have to charge to make up for a Saturday night's worth of lost receipts. Besides, I learned the hard way that closing Sweet Tea for a private event is not a great idea. A few years ago, for a hefty sum, I agreed to close the place to host a wedding reception for the daughter of the owner of King Town Center, which houses Sweet Tea. He agreed to more than cover any lost revenue, and when the man who can raise your rent come lease renewal time makes a request, you think long and hard before saying no. I tried to get the word out to my clientele about the closure that particular night a few weeks prior to the reception. Among other things, I displayed a poster at the hostess stand and put a notice on our website. I even sent emails to patrons on our contact list, but my efforts proved to be of no avail. Customer after customer came through the front door wanting a table the night of the reception. Believe me, you have not seen angry until you've had to turn away mouths that were all set to bite into crispy fried chicken and fluffy waffles. And some of the customers I had to deny entry to seemed to take it as a personal offense and posted some rather unpleasant commentary on Yelp. I just don't feel like going through all that commotion again. "Raynell is available at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon." "That would be fine. Please tell her to come by Sweet Tea then." "Sure. I will likely accompany her, and she may invite Alvetta Marshall, who has also been involved in the reunion planning, if that's okay." "Of course." Alvetta registers in my head, another one I haven't seen since high school. I'm sure she's referring to the girl I knew as Alvetta Jordan. I remember Alvetta being nicer than Raynell, and although she was prettier than Raynell, she was definitely the number 2 girl at my high school. Raynell was the cheerleader of the gang of it girls, and Alvetta was her primary minion. I think there were 6 or 7 girls in Raynell's little squadron. They all followed Raynell around like newborn ducklings waddling behind their mother. Raynell said, "Jump," and Alvetta and the others said, "How high and in what kind of shoes?" I remember when Raynell got that horrible asymmetrical shroom haircut that was big in the 80s. Next thing you knew, Alvetta and the other underlings were chopping one side of their hair and leaving the other side long to match their queen. Raynell bought an acid-wash denim jacket, and, within days, it became like a new uniform for her girls. When neon was popular, the whole lot of them wandered the halls like a walking advertisement for Dayglow highlighters. I remember them going through a phase when each of them constantly sported a neon beaded necklace. They each had a different color. Raynell probably assigned them. I can't recall the colors the other girls wore, but I do remember that Raynell's necklace was bright green, only because the intense color reminded me of a St. Patrick's Day leprechaun. Raynell isn't much taller than a leprechaun, and seeing her roam the school halls in her colored necklace always made me picture her with a green top hat and pointy-toed green shoes with gold buckles on them. The image was always good for a laugh. Okay, I will confirm with Raynell, and we'll plan to see you tomorrow. Sounds good. Who was that? Wavon asks after I hang up the phone. The assistant to one Raynell Rollins. I went to high school with her. Raynell, not the assistant. Apparently, Raynell is on the reunion committee. Remember, I told you about the invite I got for it? Yep, and I still don't get why you ain't going. All those former classmates who are likely eligible brothers. By the time people get to your age, Halia, you know, all old and creaky. Half of them have been divorced and are on the prowl again. I laugh. You'll be in your 40s one day too, Wavon. I hope to be there the first time someone calls you old and creaky. She rolls her eyes at me. You know some of those brothers have been beaten down by nagging wives for years. They're probably all damaged, ripe for the picking. If nothing else, you could at least get a weekend fling out of it. Just what I need, a weekend fling with some man weighed down with more baggage than a bellman. Thanks, but no thanks. Well then, don't you want to go just to show off? You own one of the most successful restaurants in town. If it were me, I'd go just to rub it in the faces of any nasty heifers who thought they were better than me in high school. What are you talking about? I hear Mama say as she comes out of the kitchen into the main dining room. At 74, she doesn't move as fast as she used to, but she still bakes up some mean desserts. She gets in early and whips up the cakes and pies for sweet tea. She's probably finished with her baking for the day and is about to head home. I can honestly say I have no idea, Mama. Halia was just reminding me that she's skipping her high school reunion. Why would you do that, Halia? Go, mingle. Then she adds under her breath, find a husband. What did you say? I ask, even though I heard her. Mama is forever trying to find me a love life. I said for you to go and mingle. And if you happen to find a potential romantic interest, so be it. You don't ever give up, do you, Mama? She ignores my questions. Just go, for Pete's sake, and think like a lion while you're there. Wait until an eligible man is separated from the herd and then move in for the kill. Stick with the divorced ones. Anyone who's never been married by the time they reach your age must have something wrong with them. She notices the look on my face. Except for you, dear. You've just been, well, busy. Not that it has anything to do with your badgering, Mama, but I may be going to the event after all. Apparently there was a water main break at the hotel where they planned to have the reunion, and they need a new venue. I just got a phone call about it. One of my classmates who is on the reunion committee wants to host the event here at Sweet Tea. She's coming by tomorrow to discuss it. Do you think that's a good idea, Halia? Mama asks. You don't need prospective suitors knowing you own a restaurant right off the bat. Men can be funny about dating women who are successful in business. Let them get to know you first, she adds, as if my status as a restaurant owner is akin to a case of herpes or a prison record, or whatever else you wouldn't mention on a first date. I just agreed to meet with her. I didn't say I was definitely going to host it here. I'm not keen on shutting this place down for an evening, especially on a Saturday night. I think I'll make a few phone calls instead and see if I might be able to secure another location. Then I can just cater the reunion. That way I can help out without having to close Sweet Tea for an evening. That sounds like a good idea, Mama says. You can have staff supervise the catering, and then you can go as a guest. We'll get you a new dress. Wavon cuts her off. And maybe we can do something with that hair of hers, she says to Mama, and then turns to me. Let me give you a full makeover, Halia. I'll do your makeup and loan you a wig, one of the good ones with the European hair. I'll have you looking straight up pimp in no time. I don't think straight up pimp, whatever that means, is exactly my style. But thanks all the same, Wavon. Suit yourself. But that Eddie Bauer LL Bean get-up you got going on is not going to get you noticed. I'm on my feet and moving around this restaurant all day. I like to be comfortable, Wavon. Fine, be comfortable. But you ain't gonna land no man at your reunion looking all frumpadump. Whatever, Wavon. My frumpadump self has work to do, and so do you. I turn to Mama. And isn't it time for you to get on out of here? Mama looks at her watch. Why, yes, it really is. I've got to run, girls, she says to Wavon and me before focusing her eyes on just me. I do hope you attend the reunion, Halia. And remember what I said. You're the lion, and the single men are gazelles. As soon as one lags behind, my back is already turned to her as I cut her off on my way to my office to make some calls and see about finding a venue for the reunion. I know, Mama. Move in for the kill. Chapter 2. Wavon, if I catch you doing that one more time. I let my voice trail off, as we both know whatever I say is no more than an empty threat. She just used a glass to scoop herself a cup of ice out of the well instead of the metal scooper. She does this all the time, and last year, in the middle of the dinner rush, she broke a glass in the process. We had to pour hot water in the well to melt all the ice and make sure we didn't miss any shards, then restock the whole thing. My bad, my bad. Wavon dumps the ice back into the cooler and uses the scooper to fill her glass before placing it under the sweet tea dispenser. What time your high school friends coming over? They should be here soon, and I wouldn't call them friends. They are just former classmates. We barely interacted in high school at all. Oh, so they were the popular girls. What makes you think I didn't hang out with the popular girls? 'Cause you were probably always cooking with Grandmommy, or you had your nose buried in some book. So what if I spent time in the kitchen as a teenager and liked to read? I turned out okay. How about the chicks you have coming in here? How'd they turn out? I don't really know. I haven't seen them in over 20 years. What are their names again? Wavon pulls out her phone. Raynell Rollins and Alvetta Marshall. Why? Wavon starts typing on her phone. Here's Alvetta. She places her phone under my nose. Ah, the magic of Facebook. I take the phone, click on Alvetta's main photo, and watch it enlarge on the screen. She looks good. Really good. Wavon grabs the phone back from me and looks herself. She's all right, considering she's like 40-something. She clicks on her phone again. Says here she's the First Lady of Rebirth Christian Church. Is that so? I ask. I guess that means she's married to the pastor. Rebirth is one of those mega churches, isn't it? With a few thousand members? Yeah, it's not too far from here, over in Fort Washington. Didn't we just have a bunch of Rebirth members in here last Sunday? Yep, the ones who hoarded 3 tables for over 2 hours. They do tend to be some of our lesser behaved after-churchers. I don't know exactly when we started simply referring to them as after-churchers, but the folks who come in here after services for Sunday brunch are one of the prime reasons I have the rare thought of getting out of the restaurant business. Diana Ross herself could walk into Sweet Tea wearing a diamond tiara and I bet she'd be less demanding than some of the after-churchers. The ones who come from the gigantic mega-churches like Rebirth are typically the worst. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a Christian, and I'm all for giving God his due on the infrequent Sunday that I can get away from sweet tea to attend service. But some of these mega-churches just leave a bad taste in my mouth. Mama attends one in Camp Springs. The few times I've gone with her, the collection basket went around more times than a tip jar at a strip club, which wouldn't be so bad if I didn't suspect that half the money deposited in the basket was going toward the pastor's Mercedes G-Class, or to keep his wife, who, like Alvetta, refers to herself as the First Lady in all the latest fashions from Saks and Neiman Marcus. Those rebirthers were here forever last Sunday. They about ran Darius and me ragged with special requests. Thank God you implemented that tip policy, or we'd have been left with their usual 5% tip. Wavon is not one for math, but it wasn't long after she started working at Sweet Tea that she learned how to calculate percentages. Working for tips will do that for a person. People really should leave at least 20% on the total bill for good service, and no server likes to get less than 15%. But if Wavon is on the other side of a 5 or 10% tip, we all know to batten down the hatches. Even with her poor impulse control, she knows better than to chase after a customer who stiffed her. So instead, she complains to no end to whichever staff member is within earshot. Usually words like project hoe or thought are involved. I hated to do it, but I had to do something. I'm referring to the Sunday brunch tipping policy I implemented last year that automatically adds an 18% gratuity to all parties. We've always added gratuities to parties of 6 or more, but some of our less refined customers started breaking up into smaller parties to avoid the charge, and it was becoming a particular problem on Sundays. Most of my customers are decent tippers, but certain after-churchers see it fit to leave well below the industry standard tip amounts. And I'm all for spreading God's word or what have you, but I'm sorry. Religious literature left on the table after a customer departs does not constitute a tip, and is certainly not going to pay my servers' rent or their car payments. Let's see what else we can find out about her. Wavon starts tapping on her phone again. I'm about to lean my head over and see if she's found a profile for Raynell when I spot a slick black Hyundai Equus glide into a parking space in front of the restaurant. I move closer to the door and, as the car comes to a stop, I see one of those clear stickers on the back window with a drawing of a church outlined in white. I lean toward the glass to make out the writing underneath the sketch. It says, Rebirth Christian Church. I guess the First Lady has arrived. Think she's upset that we ain't got a red carpet? Wavon asks, walking toward me. I chuckle. Maybe so. I guess a tall glass of iced tea will have to do. Chapter 3. Wavon stands next to me as we watch the door to Alvetta's luxury sedan open. My eyes are initially drawn to her towering pink hills as they make contact with the pavement. I follow them up to a lovely floral dress paired with a short light blue jacket, a bolero jacket, I think it's called. Oh, hell no, Wavon says. I just saw that outfit online. The dress? It's not just a dress, Halia. This is some Oscar de la Renta. Cost like $2,000. I bet those blonics on her feet were another 1,000, easy. One of Wavon's favorite things to do, often when she should be waiting on customers, is to look at high fashion online, snap screenshots of what she likes, and then try to find lookalikes at TJ Maxx or Ross. I guess I'm in the wrong business. Clearly religion is much more lucrative than owning a restaurant. You ain't kidding. If I'd known landing a minister would get me all up in some de la Renta, I'd go to church with Aunt Celia more often. Oh, you would you? I ask as I open the door to greet Alvetta. Halia Watkins, Alvetta calls to me as she carefully navigates her heels on the raised sidewalk in front of Sweet Tea. Alvetta, I smile. You look amazing. The picture of summer, I add, eyeing her dress of pastel flowers, and considering it's nearly 90 degrees today, being dressed for sunshine is certainly appropriate. As she makes her final approach toward the door, I'm reminded of how beautiful she was in high school, and still is. She has the same long legs and hourglass figure, the same dewy brown skin, high cheekbones, and full eyelashes framing her hazel eyes. Clicking her heels along the sidewalk with her long black hair pushed back with a pair of oversized white sunglasses, she looks like she's about to board a private jet bound for some exotic location. Thank you. She leans in, grabs both my hands, and gives me a kiss on each cheek. It's so nice to see you. Please, come in. It's great to see you as well. She steps inside Sweet Tea and begins to look around. What a lovely place. I'd heard you'd become a successful restaurateur. I can't believe I've never been here, especially considering I only live a few miles away. That is a shame, but we'll make up for it today. We'll indulge you with the finest soul food in town. I notice Wavon hovering next to me. This is my cousin, Wavon. She works as a server here. Nice to meet you. Please, let's have a seat. I gesture for Alvetta to follow me as I walk toward a foretop by one of the front windows. What would you like to drink? A cocktail or a glass of wine? Or we have watermelon mint iced tea on special. It's perfect on a hot day like this. That sounds delightful. Wavon, could you get us a couple of glasses of watermelon mint tea? Wavon, who followed us to the table, finally diverts her envious eyes from Alvetta's attire, nods, and heads toward the drink station. So, how are you? What have you been up to? Alvetta asks. This. I look around me. Keeping this place running leaves me little time for much else. How about you? I heard you married a church pastor. I figured that sounded better than telling her Wavon and I were just snooping around on Facebook for details about her. Yes, my husband Michael is the pastor of Rebirth Christian Church in Fort Washington. We have a congregation of more than 10,000. It keeps both of us very busy. I'm sure it does. You should come to service sometime. I'll reserve you a seat in the pastor's circle. The pastor's circle? It's the seating area closest to the stage. The seats are reserved for special guests and VIPs. How nice, I reply, even though the idea of a VIP section seems more appropriate for a nightclub rather than a church. I'd love to, but it's hard to get away on Sunday mornings. Preparing to feed church attendees after the service doesn't give us much time to actually attend ourselves. Well, when you can get away, I hope you'll come. Of course, I respond before switching gears. So, the reunion. Yes, I'm so excited. It will be a real treat to get the old gang back together again. She seems to be saying this as if I were part of the old gang. By no means was I part of the Whitleys, a name bestowed upon Raynell and Alvetta's gaggle of snooty girls in honor of Whitley Gilbert, the spoiled elitist character played by Jasmine Guy on A Different World, the spin-off of The Cosby Show that was popular back in my high school days. I'm not sure Raynell and Alvetta ever knew that the Whitleys is what they were called by most of the school. It wasn't a name necessarily used in a derogatory fashion, but it was always said with a hint of distaste by those of us who were not part of the exclusive clique. I was reasonably popular in high school, but more in a studious class president sort of way, rather than the fast-partying, latest fashion-wearing way of the Whitleys. I'm sure it will be a fun night. I've lost touch with most of our classmates. Occasionally, some alumni I recognize will come in here for lunch or dinner, but Nicole is the only former classmate I'm still in regular contact with. Nicole Baxter? How is she? She's good. She's planning on attending. She lives in Bowie now. Wavon interrupts me. Here we go. She set 3 glasses of tea down on the table. I'm curious who the third glass of tea is for. until I see her grab a chair from a neighboring table, slide it over, and plop herself down on it.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?